Hello and welcome. My name is Mike Starr. Again, I am a technical support engineer here at Hawkridge Systems, and this is our webinar Wednesday for December 20th, 2017, Common Composer Importing Errors and How to Fix Them. Today's topics will be covering common issues encountered when importing files into SOLIDWORKS Composer. This webinar is designed for Composer users as well as CAD and IT administrators who will be installing Composer for their end users. The format of this webinar will be a compilation of commonly encountered Composer errors with an emphasis of importing CAD files. While I assume most of our people here know of SOLIDWORKS Composer, I will give a brief description of those who are new to the software. SOLIDWORKS Composer is a technical product communication software that lets you work directly from 3D CAD data to make high-quality illustrations, photorealistic images, and interactive animations without waiting for a finished model. And as a brief example here, I do have a Composer animation running. This is taken from our Intro to Composer class, so if you are at the end of this webinar, if you do believe you want more information, you can contact us for training information and take this class yourself. The first set of cases we are going to look at are involving errors when attempting to open CAD files. These errors will generally be encountered after new installations of Composer on a computer or after upgrading existing SOLIDWORKS products. As Composer is a standalone product and does not require SOLIDWORKS to run, many users install Composer and are given the error "unable to translate file" when attempting to open a SOLIDWORKS file. While SOLIDWORKS is not required to run Composer, the SOLIDWORKS Translator is required to open SOLIDWORKS files. The SOLIDWORKS Translator can be installed through the SOLIDWORKS Installation Manager. As a brief demonstration here, to access the Installation Manager, we would go to your control panel under Add or Remove Programs. Simply searching Add or Remove in your Start menu should bring you a shortcut here. Once loading, you will want to find your SOLIDWORKS installation. In our case, that's going to be SOLIDWORKS 2018. Either right-click and select Change, or select Change at the top here. I believe for Windows 10, that would be Modify is the option you would want to select. That will open our Installation Manager here, and we will want to modify the individual installation. Select Next. The serial number information should not need to be changed. Select Next again. And after a brief check here, it's going to take us to our product selection. Under the product selections, we want to expand Composer and ensure the SOLIDWORKS Translator is selected. Continuing through Next will take you through the summary and allow you to install that translator. If you are lacking the files, please contact our technical support and we can help you get those installation files on your system. If you have received the Unable to Translate error message and the SOLIDWORKS Translator has already been installed, this error may be due to Composer input settings that have been set incorrectly. This is most common after installing a new version of Composer on a computer that has previously had Composer installed. With our desktop here, we can check to see if the SOLIDWORKS version is the correct year by going to File, Preferences. Application Preferences will open here, and we want to go to the Input and the SOLIDWORKS version. If for any reason this year was set to a previous year, such as 2015, we would not be able to open any newer files. We would want to ensure this is either set to 2018 or auto-detect to have Composer select the right version to open with. The next commonly seen error message for users occurs when there has been multiple SOLIDWORKS translators installed on one workstation. Similar to the previous error, this is caused by a mismatch of the Composer settings. Unlike the previous error, this change cannot be done within Composer and requires editing the Windows registry. While working in the Windows registry, please take note to not delete any files, as this may result in major errors to the workstation if the wrong files are deleted. As a safer version, we always recommend renaming over deleting. To give a brief description or method here to change the registry, what we would want to do is open the Start menu and search for regedit and select the program that appears on the list. That's going to open the Windows Registry Editor for us. For this error message regarding the OEM not found, we would want to go to the H key local machine, Software, Dassault Systems, Composer, and then the Preferences file. Once the preferences have been loaded, we want to identify the IO SOLIDWORKS OEM version string and check the data value that is listed. Here we have 2018. If this is set incorrectly, we will want to right-click and select Modify and enter the correct year for the version of SOLIDWORKS Composer that you have installed. For our next issue, while it's not as common as the previous importing errors, the error shown occurs when users are opening 3D XML files from other programs such as CATIA. SOLIDWORKS Composer does not include the CATIA v5 translator. However, the necessary components for importing 3D XML files are already installed within Composer. This error message displays if your installation is corrupt or if there is a product with the 3D XML file. If you see this error, please run a repair of the Composer installation through the SOLIDWORKS Installation Manager. Once again, that SOLIDWORKS Installation Manager is opened here through the control panel. And to run a repair, if we start back at the beginning, that is this second option here, and select Composer Translator and Composer itself to repair. From this point in the webinar, we will be looking at errors that occur after SOLIDWORKS CAD files have been imported. If you have any questions regarding the importing errors, please send them in through the GoToWebinar interface, and I'll come back to them at the end of the webinar. The most common Composer issue we receive in technical support is due to missing components, parts, subassemblies after opening a SOLIDWORKS assembly file. Now if we switch to our Composer here, I have opened this file in this state. As we can see here, this is characterized by serious missing components. We are missing the vast majority of this assembly. You can see them still in the assembly tree here on the left. However, none of these values can be checked on or off, while the rest of the assembly is still possible to do so. This behavior is caused by settings within SOLIDWORKS and not within Composer itself. When opening SOLIDWORKS CAD files, Composer uses SOLIDWORKS as a background process to convert assembly and part files into an SMG file. As such, settings in SOLIDWORKS will affect the importing process for Composer. There are 3 settings in SOLIDWORKS that cause this issue, 2 of which are enabled by default after new installations. Those settings can be found by opening your SOLIDWORKS, going to your Options, and then in Performance, we want to disable Automatically Load Components Lightweight. And for the other 2 options, we need to go to Assemblies, disable Use Large Assembly Mode, and ensure Use Large Design Review is also disabled. With these settings changed, we would just need to go and close our current assembly and then reopen that in Composer to load the assembly back in its entirety. As mentioned earlier, not all Composer users will have SOLIDWORKS installed, and instead they will have the SOLIDWORKS Translator installed. The Translator is a background-only process, and we are not able to edit the settings. However, we may encounter the same issue of missing components. To resolve the issue for these users, the registry file for Composer must be edited. For convenience, SOLIDWORKS has created registry files to automatically update these values. To download and apply these changes, please see our knowledge base article, SOLIDWORKS Translator registry keys for Composer, and download the appropriate year and run the file. Please note you must have administrative privileges to apply this registry file. On to our next slide here. In cases when Composer users are creating documentation related to precise measurements, such as in the medical device industry, the measured dimension may not match what was originally used in the SOLIDWORKS file. This behavior is due to the Composer import refinement and geometry compression when saving the Composer document as an SMG file. While any conversion will bring a level of uncertainty to a file, we can reduce the amount of variance by increasing the options shown. So these options are going to be in our input and output settings. Let's give a brief show here within Composer. That's going to be in our properties, in document properties. And for our input settings, we will want to change the relative chordal error from medium to high quality. And in our output settings, we want to change our compression geometry from medium to low, which would give a higher quality. This can also be changed on a case-by-case basis. Whenever opening a new file, we can locate the refinement here near the bottom left and adjust the relative chordal error here, switching that to high quality for any new files opened. Our next issue will involve missing or inconsistent data for your bill of materials. SOLIDWORKS Composer contains the powerful ability to work with an updatable bill of materials. However, many users have encountered missing or incorrect metadata when updating their SMG file. With the respective assemblies, this is most commonly seen in cases of mismatched part numbers. This behavior is caused by a mismatch of the import settings from the document settings of the currently opened document. In this example, we have the document properties import settings on the left, and we have the open dialog box import settings on the right. These settings are not identical, which causes the bill of materials to either lose or add information. As we can see here, the document settings has the option merge file into one actor per part enabled, while our import settings do not have that. This would cause issues that would break up a single part into multiple within this bill of materials, which will then lose us the appropriate data associated with that part. Again, these options are found within Composer in your properties, in document properties, under input, and you will want to ensure that these settings here for your document properties are matching that when you open a new document and see the import profile below. Should you not be using a custom profiles, if you are using an option such as SOLIDWORKS or SOLIDWORKS with Surface, these issues should not be encountered by your users. The last issue we will be addressing in this webinar is not related to importing. However, the solution is useful for a wide variety of Composer errors. If a user is reporting errors with menus or settings appearing incorrectly, this can be due to a corruption within the Composer registry files. The next step to revert Composer settings are straightforward. However, please take caution to not delete any files, as this does greatly increase the risk of major system errors. If you are uncomfortable with this procedure, please consult your IT administrator or call into our technical support line for assistance with this edit. One thing to note is this will affect all settings within Composer, and for this reason we recommend all users create a backup of their settings. Now, as our steps are shown here, I'll give a brief demonstration of this change in action. I'm going to go back to my remote desktop, and we'll start from scratch here. Let's go ahead and open our reg editor, or regedit. And for the case of issues with settings, the key is going to be located in HKey current user, software, Dassault systems, and Composer. Now, as we see here, I did leave an old file. We'll go ahead and clean that up here. Again, please don't delete any files unless you are 100% sure of their use. Now we have Composer listed here. I want to ensure that Composer is closed. I can check that here. I don't see that on my toolbar. What we would want to do is right-click this file and rename this. Generally, we will add old to the end, as it is a fairly easy way to see. Once this is changed, we will start SOLIDWORKS Composer one more time. And we will see the end user license agreement appear. This does indicate that that change has gone through, as we are encountering the original settings once more. If I look at our registry editor and select F5 to refresh the page, we see a new value for Composer being generated. Now, if this change does not resolve the issue your user was looking for, what we can do is we can take this new version, rename, and let's say this is old 2. We will then take our original Composer file, rename that, and make that back to just Composer. And the next time you launch Composer, these are the settings that are going to be loaded, which will include the previous settings. Thank you everyone for attending, and happy holidays.